Coming on this morning. My name is Peter, for those of you that haven't met me before. What we're going to do is we're going to go through the Primal Lifestyle Challenge, and we are going to just cover some really important areas to give you an overview of what it's about, and more importantly, why you want to do it. So Primal Lifestyle Challenge, when it comes down to it, it's really simple. Even though it's about food and it's about a way of eating, it's more than that. There are really only about 3 reasons why people want to change something in their life. Normally it's because they want to look better in the context of health and fitness. They want to feel better or feel different, or they want to perform better or differently, or a combination of all 3. My journey with eating better has been over the last 4 or 5 years. When I first came over to New Zealand, I was a complete utter wreck. Mentally, physically and emotionally, and I thought, right, I need to sort myself out and make some really good changes, otherwise I probably wouldn't be it. So the first thing I looked at or I found was CrossFit, and when I started doing it, they were talking about certain ways of eating, and if you've heard about it before, CrossFit recommends Zone and Paleo, and there's a few different approaches to eating that have worked well for people. And prior to that, I was eating Weet-Bix like 5 times a day, Rices, snap, crack and pop type thing. Just copious amounts of pasta, some bread, what I would term as shit. And I was eating tons of it. And I've got to be honest with you, it really wasn't helping me. But I didn't know it at the time. When I went through my training as a PE teacher and physical training instructor with the army and all that other stuff, they teach you, the big food groups, and one of them's, cereals and grains. Apparently that is a food group. I know a little bit differently now, but they taught you, if you run around and do lots of exercise, you need to throw in all these grains, all these carbohydrates, because that's what you need. Unfortunately, they weren't really telling the whole truth because they probably didn't know any better either. So my journey has taken me from eating copious amounts of crap and sugar and processed foods all the way through to eating about 95 to 100% primal all the time and loving it. I changed because I wanted to change how I feel, wanted to change how I look, and wanted to perform better. So all 3 really. It's taken a wee while, it wasn't instantaneous. So as we go through all of this and you think about all the things you want to change and make better in your life, I want you to think of it from the perspective of, number 1, it's an experiment. We're going to give you an overview and support and guidelines of how to approach this and challenge at the same time where there's a little bit of an incentive. But really, it's an experiment of 1. So when you're going through things, there may be certain types of food that you actually don't like, in which case don't eat them, all right? Unless we're talking about going from vegetarian to meat eater, in which case we'll have a conversation afterwards. We managed to convert Chris. He was a devout vegetarian. But we worked through it. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it as a vegetarian, you can, but it just introduces a few other challenges, and they can be worked through. But life is a little bit simpler when you eat meat, let's put it that way. So, first perspective, which is to think of yourself as an experiment of 1. When you think of things as an experiment, it doesn't matter if things don't quite go your way straight away. It gives you an opportunity to play with different ways of eating or cooking or preparing, so it does fit your individual needs. The second thing to look at it from is another perspective of, and this is a good thing that Pat was talking about the other day, is there's no such thing as failure with this. It's an ongoing journey, which means if something doesn't work quite right, or if you have a day where things aren't as good as you'd like them to be, i.e. you're eating really well, in line with what we're talking about today and expand on, and then you have a blowout day where things go really bad, you eat 10 kilos of chocolate and you collapse on the floor in a sugar-induced coma, it's alright, because you can fix it relatively quickly, alright, and simply. So look at this as an experiment. So if things don't go your way, that's fine. You can change them 1 step at a time. And secondly, if you do have any issues in terms of not being on track, there's no such thing as failure, there's only feedback. If it didn't work the way you wanted it to the first time, then we're here to be that feedback mechanism to help you, all right? So, 3 areas that we're looking at improving, or most people want to look, is how you look, how you feel, and how you perform, all right? And later on when we go through the goal setting side, you're going to need to apply those 3 areas, or one of those areas, to your specific goals and needs. You don't have to share that with anyone if you don't want to, but it needs to be fitting in with what you want as an individual. So primal, what is it? Who here has seen Mark's Daily Apple, or heard of Mark's Daily Apple? I know, I'm sure a few of you. Mark's Daily Apple, a guy called Mark Sissons, he started something called Primal Blueprint. And it's a book, but along with that is a website and a whole load of other stuff. And it's really a movement. And he's got 2 terms that he uses. He's got conventional wisdom, which is stuff that's promoted by government and scientists and nutritionists. And then there's the alternative wisdom, which is different from the mainstream, but in my experience it tends to work. So conventional wisdom is stuff like eat loads of grains, eat processed foods, that's fine apparently. It won't do you any harm as long as it's in moderation. Slight problem because most foods that are in a packet have got sugar in it, which is probably more addictive than cocaine and heroin. So other than that, it's completely fine to eat. And then they're promoting all these ideas about having foods and processed things with all sorts of E numbers in them, having sugar-free products, fat-free products rather, and replacing it with sugar instead, but then forgetting to mention that, and all these other different perspectives. And what he's looking at is really eating in a sensible way that fits in with your goals and fits in with really having a healthy body. Because if your body's working the way it's designed to, you're generally going to look pretty damn good, feel pretty damn good, and perform pretty damn well. In our total span of us being around, in 10,000 years of us having pretty much the same genetic makeup as our forefathers, grains have been around for, what, last 50, 100 years, maybe slightly more. So as Pat put it, to steal your expression, if you look at this as the length of time from fingertip to fingertip that we have been around in some way, shape or form as human beings, we're looking at, what is it, the last...
Yeah, so put your hands up, 100,000 years, okay? The last 12,000 is about your palm of your hand. That's how long we've been eating grains. The last millimeter, so the tip of your finger, that white spot, is how long we've had basically a processed food industry. So when we talk about evolutionary novel foods, that's what we mean. We haven't been eating these foods for very long. And your system, your physiology is not adapted to eat those foods.
And that's pretty much the guts of it. Most people are trying to eat in a way that is sold to you as the way to eat from a big company that wants to make money out of selling you crap in a packet, when really we're designed to eat things that come out of the ground, things that used to run around with eyes and a tail and a soul, or used to come out of the sea, alright? It's really ever so simple. So to condense it down into a sentence, it's really, primal is eating meat, vegetables, nuts, seeds, spices, herbs, and here's the caveat. For those people that can tolerate it, dairy products. And what that does is it incorporates a humongous amount of food options, humongous. People often say at my work in the police force, generally they don't eat the best. So when I sit down with my food and we're just, got 10-15 minutes to grab a bite to eat, they often look at me funny and ask me what I'm eating. And I'll tell them that's exactly what I'm eating. It's meat, vegetables, nuts, seeds, spices, herbs. Obviously we can put fruit on there as well, but they have a confused look on their face because they sort of sudden, how do you eat if you only have meat, vegetables, nuts, seeds, spices, herbs and fruit and maybe dairy? And it's just one of those moments of like, wow, if you actually took your pasta away and you were just left with the sauce, would you still want to eat it? Probably because for the sugar, but nonetheless, why do people eat pasta? Why do people eat grains? How do you eat them? You eat them with putting stuff on top to make it palatable. If I gave you a big loaf of bread and said, there you go, there's your food for the day, you might be able to eat it, but it wouldn't be very tasty. Likewise, if I gave you a whole packet of pasta and said, there you go, boil it up, you can eat that. Oh, yummy. Ugh. You're not going to want to eat it. Period. So when you start to boil it down, Ever so simple. Meat, vegetables, nuts, seeds, spices, herbs, and we'll put fruit on there as well. That is about the guts of it. It's so simple. If you went and talked to your grandmothers and they opened up the pantry, they'd probably have these types of foods in there. If you showed them, I don't know, cutting out the product name, but the Maggi special mix with about 50 E numbers to make it taste like something, even though it's just full of man-made chemicals, they probably wouldn't recognise it. They'd probably make their own thing called stock, and that would be from carcass along with herbs, along with vegetables, all sorts of other types of seasoning, but it's real food. That's the heart of it, it's real food. If it comes out of a packet, and it doesn't come out of the ground you used to run around, it's probably no good for you. It's the easiest way to look at it. We covered perspectives, so we're thinking about you being an experiment of one. If you have an off day, or if you have an off moment where things aren't working as you want it to, that's okay, because you can get back on track. The next stage, just to sum up from here, is anybody got any questions about the general overview of what eating primarily is? Don't all put your hands up at once. Okay, so everyone feel comfortable with the idea of what eating primarily is? Yes, Peter, I do. Stick your hand up now and say yes if you're happy with that. Yes. Okay, now put your hand up and say it like you mean it, if you mean it. If you don't, then I'm going to come around and ask some questions. Yeah, you happy? Yep. You happy? Happy?
Yep.
Happy?
Yes.
Happy? Happy?
Yeah.
Happy? Happy? Yeah, good. Alright, so the next stage. How's this going to work in terms of a challenge? Pat is going to explain that to you. You've got your handouts in front of you, so refer to those as you need. Question.
Question.
Go on.
So what was your stance in terms of this challenge for the people that are involved in it with the little starch theory? Like little starch, no.
Okay.
Is there such a thing as little starch? What you're going to try and get people to try?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So are you referring to the 100 Words of Elite Fitness by Greg Glassman? Okay, so with CrossFit, for those of you who... That's okay. I'll give you a really quick background just whilst Pat's setting up.
I was trying to not make it a CrossFit question.
No, that's okay. So with the guy that started CrossFit, Greg Glassman, he had this 100 words or less explanation about what elite fitness was, or is. And in the first part he talks about movements and exercise, and the second part he talks about what to eat. And he makes reference to eating little starch. So when we talk about starch, we're talking about starchy vegetables, okay? Things like your sweet potato, yams, carrot, that type of vegetable. And that if you ate copious quantities of it, then it may not be so good for you. We definitely have a stance that if you eat too much food, whatever it is, you will end up taking on more than you're using. Okay, it's really simple. But we're going to cover how to basically eat the right amount. So that's a really good question. Yeah, you do obviously want to be careful, and you can't just take this and then just eat 5 tons of it and then expect, if one of your goals is to reduce body fat, that you can. There's still a little bit of conventional mathematics in it, but yeah, we will cover that. We will cover that. Yeah. So just what Sarah's mentioning there is when we're looking at food and how it's broken down, we'll go through in more detail in a moment, but the way that you're going to have your plate laid out in almost every single meal is it's based around your protein, you're a good source of protein, your good source of fat, we'll cover exactly what that is as well, and then your vegetables and your starchy vegetables, if that's part of it, is the last component on your plate. So really the focus is on the other components first, and then the starchy vegetables last. So space-wise on a plate, it's really simple to work out, because if you've got a big mountain of starchy vegetables, then you probably haven't got the right amount. But you didn't need me to tell you that, right? Does that answer your question all right?
Yeah, totally, yeah.
Okay, cool. That's all right. We'll cover the fine detail in it. Anyone going to hand over to Pat?
Sweet. It's hard to follow Pete because he makes everything so beautifully simple. And this diet is beautifully simple. Meat, vegetables, nuts and seeds, little starch, no sugar. But just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy, right? If you guys have been trying to follow this diet, it could be easy for you, but for some of us it's pretty hard, and that's why we've developed all these tools to help you guys out. So why is it hard? You ever had this experience where you're eating the chocolate bar and you're like, damn, this is not good for me. It doesn't even taste that good, but you keep eating it anyway? Like, who's had that experience? Yeah, like multiple times a day for some of us, right? Well, that's because for 100,000 years as an anatomically modern human being, you've evolved in an environment of scarcity, right? There wasn't sugar around you. There wasn't complex carbs to eat. And who are the people that succeeded in that environment? The people that could utilize the resources when they were available and utilize it more rapidly than everybody else. So you guys might not think of it this way, but you, especially if you eat poorly, are eating the primal diet. You're eating according to your instincts of, I'm going to eat as much carbohydrate and sugar as I can because that's what my hindbrain tells me to do. Okay? So what we want you to follow is the primal diet 2.0. We're actually using this neocortex, being more mindful about what you eat. Okay, so that's reason number one why it's hard to change. The other reason it has to do with how your brain works and the feedback mechanism. So if you eat that candy bar, you're getting a huge dose of feel-good chemicals in your brain that's speaking directly to your hindbrain, makes you feel good, okay? It doesn't matter what you're telling yourself, okay? And that feedback is immediate and it's really strong. Compare that to the feedback later on down the line. So what we want to do is we want to look, feel, and perform better. That's going to happen weeks, couple weeks, maybe a month out, and for some of us, because this is a long journey, maybe a couple years out. So those really strong instinctual impulses are competing with these more neocortical abstract concepts of looking and feeling better and performing better. Okay? The last reason why it's hard is the environment. Okay, and there are two pieces to the environment. There's peer pressure. Not everybody eats like a caveman, right? If you eat this way, just like Pete said, you pull out your salad at lunch, people are going to give you a funny look. They're going to rib you for following the caveman diet. You can be like, 2 months down the line, when you're looking, feeling, and performing better, you'll get the last laugh, okay? But that is hard to deal with because we're social beings. Okay, so be ready for that. The other thing is the system, right? The processed food industry in that system. You walk into Pack and Save, there's like the row of evil food, the gauntlet. Like there's Tim Tams on one side, Coke on the other. Why do they do that? It's because they're appealing to your addictions and your instincts, right? And why does the processed food system exist? Because it's really easy to take cheap as chips, grain, and especially corn if you're from the States, and make it into a higher value product, okay? You don't see many organic farmers getting rich and rolling in dough, but Coca-Cola makes a ton of money. Don't let those guys prey on your instincts, and don't participate in that system. And that's part of what the primal lifestyle is about. So, what are the tools that we've sort of come up with to help you guys fight these factors and to make it a little bit easier? The first thing is Evernote. So if you flip to in your packet, the information on the self-tracking. Evernote is a software program. I'll let you guys get to it. Everybody there? Yeah. So Evernote is a little program. It's a note-taking tool. It works on your PC, on your Mac, on your phone. And what we want you to do is we want you to get an Evernote account. And it allows you to take a picture note where you just snap a little picture and save it on your phone. It syncs to your PC, Mac, whatever. And what that does is it builds in a little interrupt to that instinctual behavior. So before you eat something bad, you actually have to think, okay, I'm going to take a picture of this. Do I really want to eat it? Do I really want to review this note in a couple days? And do I really want Pat or Sarah, or if you make your pictures public, which I hope you all will, anyone else to see it? So we're building in peer pressure, and it's going to speak directly to the hindbrain. So this is a really powerful tool to help you be a little more mindful about what you eat. Okay? The second piece, like Pete was saying, don't think of this as a diet. You can think of it as lifestyle, but that's pretty intimidating, right? So think about it as a 6-week experiment or a 6-week game, right? And if you're doing an experiment, you need to track your results, okay? In a lab notebook, something like that. Or if you're playing a game, we need to keep score somehow. So the second piece is the daily scorecard. Once a day, you're gonna get online, you're gonna fill out a little form, you can see it there. It takes about a minute, 30 seconds. Okay, and that's just gonna hold you accountable. I want you to do it for the previous day. So think back to what you ate the previous day and fill out the form. Okay, that just helps us be all accountable, helps us play the game, keep score, and run a good experiment. The third tool, if you go up to silver level, is you actually have, Sarah's going to use your pictures and a little bit of your data to do some online personalized coaching, and you also, more importantly, get shopping lists, get a meal plan, because this environment piece is crucial, right? You go into the supermarket and there are like millions and millions of choices. And you've got Tim Tam saying eat on this side, you've got Coke on this side. If you have a shopping list, that's going to make it much easier. All of a sudden you don't have a choice, the thinking comes out of it, you just grab what's on the list and you get out. Okay? That's the critical piece. And if you're having a hard time, you think this is going to be really hard for you, then that's where, or you have some sort of nutritional issue, that's where you want to think about the gold level, like personalized coaching from Sarah. We can troubleshoot any problems you're having and really tailor it to you. Okay, so that's what the levels are. One more piece of this, on your daily scorecard, there's 3 habits, and you're going to put yes or no. Did you complete that habit? And the habits are, they could be related to health and fitness, but they don't have to be. I built those in so that we can think about the primal lifestyle more generally. Being healthy is about more than just going to CrossFit 3 times a week, and it's more than just eating right. It's thinking good thoughts, being connected, the whole piece. So we're going to do a goal setting exercise in a little bit, I don't know if right now, to help you choose those 3 habits. Good. Sweet.
Have you not noticed that I'm a girl?
Thanks, sir. All right, everybody get up. Up. Okay, huggers real quick. Just stretch. Wood choppers. Okay. Side to side. Few air squats. Just to warm up. Heels down. Heels down. Cool. That's just to warm up a little bit. So right now, you can sit back down. We're going to do a little goal setting walk. Right? So you guys have your piece of pen, piece of paper? Cool. You've got 30 seconds from when I say 3, 2, 1, go. You write down the 3 most important things in your life. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Oops. already started.
You already got it?
No, I just already started.
That's fine. Right. Yeah, it takes 5 seconds, right? It's easy. So if you're done, take 10 seconds, start to scribble Y.
You can start to scribble Y?
Yep. Awesome, guys. Everybody got their top 3 things? Raise your hand if you do. You completed it. Come on, Craig. Alright, sweet. What was it? I mean, it's pretty simple. It boils down to your health, your family, or your relationships, and your work. How many have kind of along those lines? There's no work in there. There's no work in there. Anya's got her priorities straight, right?
My cats made the list before my work.
That might be a bad sign. So that's really primal. It's all about how you get your food, you know, how you go to work, your relationships, your tribe, and then your health and fitness. Yeah. So I'm going to give you 60 seconds, and without overthinking it too much, I want you to write down one thing you could do, and it has to be an action, to improve each of those areas in your life. Okay? 60 seconds, starting now. Oh, starting in 10 seconds. Right? Damn.
I can't improve the process that you do. I can't improve the process that
What was that? Right. Alright, go guys, go.
He tries to work with Craig.
You'll play with them.
I do play with them.
Okay, mate, that.
Gonna have to quit my job to play with my
Quit my job. Is that in there?
kids. What? He is. That's sweet. It's true. I just thought it would be obvious. Is it not obvious?
That is,
You win.
you're number 1. Please, no.
I know, that's the right.
Alright guys, 20 more seconds, come on.
I want to improve Craig. Take down the size of one of your arms.
10 more seconds. Good, guys. So there's the third part of this. You've got your daily actions. I want you to scale them down. Imagine you're getting home from work, you're tired, all you want to do is watch TV. How can you scale these 3 things down to make them doable in 30 minutes? Okay, so that you don't have an excuse not to do them every single day. 60 seconds, starting now.
I've done this right.
What is saying? Go down more time.
I've done this right. It's not
You could give Craig the colour with that.
Oh my goodness.
Or you could come and involve
But he's It's too difficult.
More seconds. You guys got it? Alright guys, time. So, this is an example of what I want the 3 habits to be. I want it to be really actionable, and it doesn't have to do with health and fitness, okay? And on the form, you're gonna put yes or no. Did I complete my daily my 3 habits for yesterday? Okay? And it'll just build some accountability in the system and help you do those things every day. It doesn't have to be what you wrote down right now, but just to get an idea. Does anyone have... Oh, I forgot a key piece of the form. If you sign up to bronze level, I'm going to give you a report. So you get little graphs of your data, and you can download your data in Excel and play with it if you want to. if you want to, I'm also going to send out a weekly email saying who's in the lead in terms of points. Okay? What was that? Prize. Yeah, and if the prize is going to be. You want to talk about the prize? Sure. Cash. Yeah. So the more people that sign up, the more cash there'll be. So get your friends to sign up. Mention it to them. When does it start, Sarah?
Next Monday.
Next Monday. Okay. So you got a few days to
After you
recruit.
signal that sugar with your mother for Mother's Day.
Okay. And we're going to use that daily form. We're going to use your results. To judge the winner. And we're going to use your Evernote account. Okay.
So we should go over more questions, right?
Yeah.
That might change the questions.
Any questions?
Do you need a decent phone with that Evernote account? Because mine's pretty poor.
What was that?
The Paleo you can use it as a diary, is it?
Yeah, if you don't have a phone, that's a really good question. If you don't have a camera phone, you can still get the Evernote account and use it just as a straight food diary, okay? So every meal will get one note. Okay?
Is there anyone who's unsure about anything?
You guys need to go home, read the form, review.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Yeah, just send us an email if you have any questions. Sweet.
Is porridge green?
Is porridge green?
Yeah, no potatoes.
Yeah, porridge does not count as primal, unfortunately. But you can make, Mark said the apple is a recipe for primal, it uses nuts. It would be like $7 a bowl, but you know.
But I think it takes really good to do.
So there's a lot of, you can do a lot of swapping out of food. Whatever you have that you love, you can usually make a primal option.
Okay.
So if you like bircher muesli, you can make a primal bircher muesli with apple instead of grains. You can make muffins with coconut flour or almond flour, hazelnut flour, and there's options for everything. It's just a matter of changing your thinking as to what your ingredients are.
Another example would be cauliflower, ground cauliflower for rice.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, if you
Sounds terrible.
sounds
It's pretty good.
it tastes like rice. It doesn't. No, but it just absorbs the thing. It acts as an absorbing food. Yeah, exactly. So it does exactly the same thing. It's just a matter of switching your thinking. Hello.
You would be really surprised how much you don't miss things that you think right now that you love so bad. Like, I pretty much all my entire adult life has been pasta for the last maybe 2 years. I don't know pasta anymore. Somebody put pasta in front of me now, I could probably eat 2 or 3 spoons of the stuff and then I'd be done. And it'd be a treat, but it would be something that I thought was a treat before, but it doesn't really feel so much like that anymore. It's just one of those things that you have to give it a little bit of time, because it's like Pat said, all this stuff that's in your hindbrain is saying, I can't live without potatoes. Give that for 3 months and you'll be like, oh my god, potatoes. Seriously, I never ever thought that would be the way that I could live my life, and I've been the most surprised ever. It's the things that I can add.
It's all the sauces in it. It's the tomatoes.
I think that what you have to think about is, like what you said, this is not something that's going to happen overnight for you. Peter and I started doing primal/paleo because of Peter. It was easier for me to do it because he was doing it, but I still wanted my bread. So I had a couple of pieces of bread a week, and that was 2 years ago. And now it's just gradually disappeared. I don't have any urges to eat it, and I don't even buy it anymore. But for a year or even 18 months, it just sat in the freezer just in case I wanted it.
Yes, we had Brenda's like literally about a year old, sat there and it's like frozen away, like, no, I'm not going to eat it. You want it? Yeah. Just sits there.
Yeah.
But and this could sound a little bit corny, but when you're eating, like reasonably well, and then occasionally you have, like blurb days, and then you eat, a huge amount of chocolate or whatever I used to do. Those blurby days for the first 10 seconds, like Pat said, it just golden, just like wow. But interestingly enough, I've found by eating this way, and because I do shift work as well, and it's all over the place, it's going to sound weird, but I've actually found that I feel so damn good that on a regular basis, when you're eating good foods, like the ones we put up on the board, you actually find that most of the time those meals taste just as good, if not better, than the sugary crap or whatever that you had before as your treat. And it takes a while to get used to the fact that your taste buds come back, and you can really taste the goodness in the food and the herbs and the spices and the flavourings, and it just gives you a completely new appreciation for food. Things like the muffins, all those different recipes that Sarah's come up with and found from different places. You eat them, and it may be that it's made from coconut flour, for example, but I remember I got home at like 5 in the morning after a shift, and I was really starving, and I was searching through the cupboards, and I just put my hand in a box, and I was like, oh, what's that? Muffin. Started eating it, and I was like, oh, shit, this has got flour in it, it tastes really good. And I was like, well, obviously finished it because, you know, halfway through. And then my guilt was completely relieved in the morning when I said, Sarah, what the hell's in the muffin? She goes, no, it's all right. It's just coconut flour. I was like, oh, phew. But it tasted so good that I couldn't actually tell the difference. And that's the thing.
You can't tell the difference between your muffin and the like.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, once you just, you know, like along with using the Evernote and having the whole principle of either looking at this as like a game or looking at it as an experiment, once you start substituting in the foods that actually genuinely taste really good, it makes it so much easier because you really want to eat nice food. But it also makes it easier, and tying what you said about the starches and eating too much or too little. Yeah. You do get way more in tune with how much you need to eat. And I know for some people that's a bit of a cop-out because it's like, oh, well, you know, I want to know exactly how many grams of this and that. But the reality is, as you start eating better, how many people do you know are addicted to broccoli and cauliflower and they're like, oh, I've just got to eat loads every single night? No one. You can't overeat certain things. If I gave you a lump of meat, you're still going to sit down and eat 5 kilos of it.
This might be the perfect time to talk about fat.
And that's why when I know, yeah, everyone likes fat. So I know at the beginning I briefly mentioned about when Andrew was saying, hey, so what about starchy vegetables? How much and how does that fit? When you start putting your food together, your meals together as protein source first and then good fats secondly, you'll find that because the protein makes you feel full up, as well as the fats make you feel full up and give you an energy source, you don't feel the need to eat a huge amount of food thereafter. And you may not eat very much protein, you may not eat very much fat in terms of its physical size, but the effect that it has on your biochemistry and your neurochemistry is it gives you that feeling of being satiated, being full up. And when you fill up, it's just like it's easier just to not eat anymore. It's like, I'm full up, I've got all I need, sweet, I'm done. And because you're able to take a moment, like Pat said, with the Evernote and taking a picture or making a note, it gives you that disconnect time where you go, you know, animal brain, yeah, give me the sugar, and then using your conscious part of your brain to go, is that the best choice? And it gives you that moment of appreciation, is it the right food? And then as you think about it and you choose the source of food, the protein, the fat first, and then the vegetables as your carbohydrate, as your preferred way of eating, it becomes way easier. And then you start to enjoy it more. So there is like a positive cycle. You've all heard of the negative loop. You know, you feel crap, eat crap, feel worse, eat more crap. But there is such a thing as a positive cycle. You eat better, you feel better, you're able to cope with setbacks in your life, stress, whatever it is, and process things way better. I can only speak for myself, but doing shift work and being a policeman and seeing all sorts of different weird and wonderful and horrible things, it's quite emotional toll at times, but eating really well has helped me hugely in being able to cope with different stresses. When I was eating sugary food, and most of you know this, there's a real link with mood and sugar high, sugar low. As we're able to stabilise your blood sugars by eating less of it and being able to, you know, process the protein and the fat as you're designed to, as Mother Nature or God, or whoever you believe in, has designed you to, things get way easier because you've got that steady blood sugar. Steady blood sugar equals steady brain. Steady brain equals better decision-making process, or at least that's how I've found it. And again, it just opens up a whole new world of food appreciation. You know, your taste buds come back. Trust me, when they come back, and you know, whether you're drinking a coffee or whether you're just having a really nice cut of meat or just really nice vegetables, whatever it is, it's a real pleasurable experience on a different level to eating a shit ton of chocolate and feeling crap afterwards. So there is a massively positive side as well. And that's something I think also to have in the back of your mind. Yeah, you might have troubled times, but I tell you what, as you adjust to this new way of eating and thinking and just daily habits, you're just going to feel fantastic. And I'm really careful not to say that to too many people at work in case I piss them off. But the reality is I see it when they're having sugar highs and sugar lows, and I'm just like, thank goodness I eat really well. Honestly, you just, and you know, Angela Gray and all the other people that have started to go through this process, once you get into it and you tap into how good you can feel, to me, like having binge day, like I was asked the other day, oh, so Pete, you know, like don't you just have days when you binge out? I used to, but I don't anymore. Just don't need to.
Not even like once every 20 months.
Yeah, sure, and that's the thing. Once you're eating 80-90% of the time, over time, pretty well, 20 or 10% of not eating so well, doesn't matter. That's the thing. It's not about forcing yourself to do it. It's about allowing yourself to be okay with it. You know, and if you don't eat the way you wanted to, you ate a whole bar of chocolate. Oh well, enjoy the moment, let it go, and then just think, cool, for my next meal, I'm going to eat right. I'm going to eat in a better way. So it's there is a massively positive side, so this is our goal, is just to get you on that journey, or if you're already on it, accelerate the process. You know, and we've all been through the good and the bad and the ugly, trust me. So anything you're experiencing, I'm sure we've experienced before. You know, the challenges, the good bits, the bad bits, and we still are on some expense. But yeah, anyway.
One of the things that Pat was saying about the supermarket and making a list, that's obviously totally smart. The other thing is, especially if you're not used to going to the supermarket and shopping in a way that's for certain food, and especially if you're here with one of your friends and you're doing this with somebody else, go to the supermarket with them. Because then you are less likely to take a walk down an aisle that looks a little bit tempting to you and go, you've got somebody else there to be accountable to. I always find that if I'm having a tired day and I go to the supermarket by myself, and I'm like, oh, and I'll go down to the lolly aisle and I'll get into the pick and mix and I'll just put like 10 in there and I'll let them carry the fast and go home. So I do not like to go to the supermarket by myself anymore, especially after I've been at training. So I'm like, oh, I've been training, it's okay, I can do whatever I want. No, okay, not. Yeah. It's really, really not cool. It's really, really not cool. Go to the supermarket with a friend, your husband, your partner, your kids, or anybody that says, really? I thought you didn't eat that anymore. Anybody that's going to say, don't do that. Anybody that's going to call you on it, go to the supermarket with them.
That's the thing, like, I don't believe in willpower. I believe in altering your environment so you can't make a bad choice.
Yeah. Have somebody there that's going to tell you not to.
Yeah.
And like the general rule, don't go into the middle of the supermarket ever.
I do, I go to get my yogurt and like coconut curry.
Yeah, and that's it.
And tuna, canned tuna.
Yeah. We visit the confectionery aisle for dark chocolate from time to time, and that's like as far into the middle of the supermarket as we go now. It's really funny.
Sweet. Yeah. And when you do screw up, think about these factors. How can you control your environment next time so there's no trigger, you know, so you don't have the option to screw up?
Yeah.
All we've got to do now, people, is just take the first step and get started.
Yeah.
That's all you've got to do. It's not about success or failure, it's just taking the first step.
So go grab an Evernote account, start filling out the form every day, just get in that habit. And I'll delete all the entries and we'll start officially next Monday.
Yeah. So if anyone wants measurements or anything like that done, so they can do tracking, then I can do that now.
Very good to get your measurements taken. Take a before after picture.
Yeah.
It's surprising how motivating that stuff is.
Plus, think about the money.
Don't do it, it's free. So.
Alright, are there any other questions before we wrap things up for today? Any other thoughts people want to share? Fantastic. You know what it's about. We're just telling you what you already know inside your head, inside your logical brain, all right? So thank you very, very much for coming along, and let's make the good stuff happen. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah! Right, let's get to it.